it all goes down to the basics. It's just survival. That's the most important thing. Make sure you have enough food, water to survive, that you're getting along with your crewmates, and that you're doing the work you're supposed to do. My name is Michaela Musilova. I'm the director for the High Seas Station in Hawaii. It's a research station where we simulate being on the moon and Mars to help prepare humans to actually go and live and work there one day. During missions at high seas, people can be isolated in a small dome for up to several months on end, even up to a year, with only 6 people in the crew. And nowadays, with the COVID-19 situation, in many ways, people are experiencing similar things to what we experienced during those missions. It's recommended people don't leave their home as much as possible, only to do important things like go shopping or maybe go to the doctor if they're not feeling well. You're also, quote unquote, stuck there with a small amount of people. Maybe you're even alone in your home, or maybe you're with your family and roommates. And in this way, that's also very similar to our missions, where you're really there at all times and you have no real contact with anyone else, only virtually. So we would only have access to emails to communicate with our loved ones, friends, and colleagues. You at least, can call people if you're feeling lonely. Or there's all this social media and other ways people can communicate these days. Also, similarly to our missions, you only have a certain amount of things available to you right now. You should really only go to the store every now and then and buy a certain amount of supplies, of food and other things you will need for the next few weeks. During our missions, we actually usually only have one set of supplies that needs to last us for weeks or months on end. And we have to make sure that, we use it carefully and don't use up too much food, water, and things like that too quickly. And finally, what I see is really important nowadays is that people follow guidelines given to us by our governments and other local authorities. Just like on missions, the guidelines we have of what we can and can't do, protocols we have to follow are vital. So it's really important people follow that and keep in mind that it's not just for their safety, but for the safety of others, not to get contaminated by the disease. When we want to go outside on EVA, the extravehicular activity, we have to put on a spacesuit. Once you're wearing the suit, you go inside the airlock where the pressure and temperature and things like that adjust to those of the outside world. You go do your research outside, and once you come back, everyone has to go back into the airlock. And then once you undress and everything, the suits stay in the engineering bay before you enter the habitat. So you're not bringing anything from the outside that could be dangerous to the rest of the crew inside the habitat. And nowadays, with the COVID-19 disease, we're facing a similar situation where we have to protect ourselves when we go outside. In many countries, it's actually mandatory to wear a face mask to protect you from receiving other people's germs, but also if you're sick, you don't want to be passing on your germs to other people when you cough and sneeze and so on. In a similar way, you should treat your face mask like this space helmet that's protecting you. Keep that in mind. Really try not to touch your face. Pretend maybe that is a spacesuit and you couldn't touch it even if you wanted to. And if you ever have trouble breathing because it's too tight on your face or you're just not used to it, it's really important to slow down, take deep breaths, and just calm yourself down. And the slow breathing will help you feel less anxious, and it will actually get more air into your body, so that will help you calm down as well. Time management is vital. It's actually on purpose that NASA, the European Space Agency, and other space organizations schedule a really full time plan for every single crew member. One of it is, of course, we have a lot of research and chores to do around the habitat. But the other reason for it is that it prevents us from getting bored. People, could accidentally get up to no good because they get bored and they start messing around with things. Or for some people, it leads to depression because they're not feeling useful. They're feeling like they're wasting time. So having an actual full program where everything is structured every day is vital for missions to be successful. And I actually recommend that for everyone now having to work from home and live from home with the family, is to try and do that in a similar way where you're going to schedule your program every single day. You're going to try and work the same working hours as you would normally do. Children would try and do their school work again during the similar kind of hours as they would on an everyday basis under normal conditions. Try and keep weekends free. It's really important to set aside time to do fun things or things that are not work, which give you a sense of relief. So maybe even doing household chores is, important for a lot of people, to make sure the house is clean, or basically just not to be working. The difficult part about isolation on missions is the feeling that you're lacking freedom in a certain way. On missions, we are watched the whole time, so we have a lot of rules to abide by, a lot of work to do. We can't leave the habitat, even sometimes when we're, the other people are driving us crazy and we just want to go for a walk, but we can't. So we lose a lot of personal freedom to do what we would like to do. So really the solution there is try and compensate for it somehow. So, during the missions, we couldn't go to the gym, but we made our own gym inside the habitat, or exercise sessions. For people today, they could look up online courses or online exercises on YouTube of what they can do to exercise, or at least go for a walk, run. If you're missing social contact, make sure to schedule, regular calls with your friends. If you were used to meeting up every Friday night, at least have a Skype call every Friday night, or some kind of call where you can, communicate with each other, and try and bring, what you used to do to your current lifestyle in the best way possible. And that's how we would deal with isolation. We would compensate for things, but improvise with the things we had available to us. There's always been some kind of interpersonal conflict. The isolation, the fact that you're, stuck there with only the same people all the time. We're not used to spending 24/7 with other people. It's just not natural. We do, as human beings, need some time alone. Some of us who are introverts, or on the contrary, extroverts, have different needs in terms of socializing. So I recommend always find some place and time for yourself. That was crucial during the missions. The dome is very small. It's only 1,200 foot squared. For 6 people to live in. And so you can't really go anywhere else, but you have your own room. There's a science lab. There's an engineering bay. So these are places people kind of go to have some alone downtime. And I highly recommend that. Just, if you're ever feeling like, oh, this is too much, and, I'm getting annoyed with people too easily, just tell your family, your roommates, oh, I need some time alone. Just, give me an hour. I'm just going to be in my room or wherever, in the garden or whatever works for you. Just have some peace and quiet, time alone, and do this regularly. And during those times, it's really, really important to be as patient as possible. The whole time, even now, you yourselves, keep in mind that we're all in this together. Everyone around the world is experiencing these kind of difficult times in a similar way. Just like on the mission, everyone is under the same kind of stress, but everyone is also dealing with it in a different way. One of the things that was really difficult during the missions is that because you're so limited to what you have available to you, things can get a bit mundane. The habitat itself is kind of mostly white in color. When we go outside in EVA in a spacesuit, we're just smelling our sweat inside the spacesuit. We don't get fresh air in our face, things like that. But you can have access to, going outside, which is really important. Try and get some fresh air, get sun in your face. You can change things around in your household. Maybe you can move furniture around, add a new painting. You can change what you're cooking, so try a new recipe, things like that. It's really important to spice things up in your life, to change things around so you don't feel like you're stuck in the same prison at home in a way, but you're adding some new elements to the environment. Even with your hobbies, maybe try something new, learn a new language, play a new instrument, things like that. And adding variety to your life will really help you get through this and not feel like you're really stuck somewhere doing the same thing over and over again, because that's the worst thing you can do for yourself. Some crew members, once the mission is over and they go back to the real world, they struggle actually with the presence of other people. That's usually the biggest issue. We're so used to just being with, the six of us in this small habitat, and suddenly you go into a store, or mall, even just walking down the street, and there are millions of people around you. And people struggle with that, like, oh no, too many people, too much stuff happening. And then the smaller things are, getting used to the fresh food and taking showers regularly. During some missions, we don't even get that if there's a low amount of water available to us. But like with everything, you need to do everything in moderation. So you can't just like jump straight back into it or eat a huge bowl of fruit or something, because your body is not used to eating that kind of food. It got used to the freeze-dried food, and so actually eating a huge amount of something fresh can actually hurt your body. So you have to gradually kind of start adapting to Earth life again. So basically the key is, when we go back to our Earth life, is to slowly adjust, slowly bringing the elements so that we don't get traumatized by the sudden new changes to our lifestyle. When times got really tough during the missions, whether because crew members were not getting along, or we were there for so many weeks on end that we were just really tired of everything and just really wanted to go home, we kept on reminding ourselves of what our purpose was. Why are we here doing this? For us, it was, we're trying to help humans actually, go to Mars and to be able to live on the moon. So everything that we're doing will serve this greater purpose of helping humanity. And you're doing the same thing today by staying home, by self-isolating. You're helping prevent the spread of the COVID-19 disease, and you're saving people's lives. You're also helping humanity to survive, and for people to be able to go back to living normally. So keep that in mind when times get tough. Why are you doing this? You're helping people, you're saving lives. That is your purpose. And, keep on reminding yourself of that, even, when you're feeling crazy at home.